fans, and welcome back to Seed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. We are set to roll with tonight's edition of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. We are excited to be back on the air here on a Thursday night. I'm Jacob Thielman, the voice of Seed 77, alongside my partner in crime, Tom Baker, here at tonight's roundtable. And we've got special guest co-host Kyle Magda joining us for a good portion of tonight's show as well. So got a lot of content to talk about. Tom, I'll start with you. First off, good to be back on a Thursday night. We've got late models, modifieds, regional touring action, and a bunch of racing coming up this weekend that we get to talk about tonight. And two drivers who are coming back to our show who have been certainly turning a lot of heads lately.
Yeah, no question about it. Looking forward to hearing from the drivers, and also looking forward to talking about what's going on this past weekend, and also a bunch of the events that are coming up this weekend. A little preview here tonight on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. We wanted to have Derek Randstrom from the Pass North Tour just picked up the win up there. We had him scheduled for this evening. He had a situation come up at the last minute. Unfortunately, had to back out on this here, but we're going to try to reschedule him for as soon as we can and get him on the air with us. So we apologize to our audience for that, but we've definitely got some good young talent to talk to this evening and a whole bunch of racing to talk about. So looking forward to doing this show here tonight, Jacob.
Yeah, so am I, and I want to get right to our first topic of discussion tonight and want to bring in Kyle Magda on this. Kyle, first off, good evening to you, and glad to have you back on the air with us here on another Thursday night. But one of the things that you brought to our attention, and it really has been one of the topics that I was most excited to discuss about tonight's show, is the fact that while we don't have any K&M Pro Series action going on this weekend from the East or the West divisions, NASCAR announcing just yesterday afternoon that both Rookie of the Year titles have been locked up with a couple races to go in each division, one race for the East, two to go for the West, and a couple other young talents that we've talked to a couple times this year. Ben Rhodes, who, of course, clinched the East Series championship, and James Bickford out west. You talk about two drivers who have been making a lot of noise this season, and no more deserving than those two for as young as they are doing what they've done this season. They really have been the cream of their class.
Well, first off, thanks for having me tonight, guys, and definitely with Ben Rhodes, I mean, that is more than well-deserving. He just put on a clinic this year in K&N East, and he's shown it. And, you know, he was showing some speed last year when you're running a limited schedule for Turner Scott Motorsports, and just coming out of the gate, of course, winning at Greenville Pickens in March, and then going on that stretch of 4 straight wins and moved to the championship, which he clinched at Greenville Pickens a few weeks ago. So definitely for Ben Rhodes, you know, he has a really bright future ahead of him. And, you know, of course, running the ARCA race this weekend in Kentucky, which we'll get to later on. And then, of course, with James Bickford, you know, being a cousin of Jeff Gordon, the 4-time Sprint Cup Series champion. You know, he had that one win at State Line Speedway in Idaho this year, and he'll probably have another year with Bob Guncani next year. So definitely he can be a championship threat come 2015 because his teammate Dylan Lupton right now is battling Greg Pursley, and it could be Bickford, the one battling Pursley, or somebody else for the championship next year.
Yeah, and I think James is absolutely going to be a championship threat. I'm actually in the process. We're trying to get him on for next Thursday's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show to talk with him. He's just had a banner season, picking up a win this year, and just really overachieving, I think, was the word he used the last time I spoke with him, that you know, they knew they were going to be competitive, but to have come out of the box and be as strong as they have this quickly, I think, Tom, was one of the things that really impressed us with this young driver, just 16 years old. And I'll tell you, he's got the lineage to back up his performance on the track this season, even if he doesn't always like to call attention to it.
Well, of course. I mean, there's no question about that. The talent runs in the family. But just letting him stand on his own here, he deserves this because He's improved steadily all season long, but the biggest thing that impresses me about him is how humble he is. He again, you talk about the connection to Jeff Gordon. Well, you'd never know that if you were talking to James, unless you brought it up or read it somewhere else. He doesn't wear that on his sleeve by any means. He wants to be known as James Bickford, not some relation to Jeff Gordon. He wants to be his own racer and his own personality and his own brand, and he really is off to a great start. That team has had a good run this year, and I agree with you, Jacob, and with Kyle as well. I think that he's going to be a championship contender in that series next year, assuming that he runs another full season there, which I'm not sure why he wouldn't do that. But he certainly has a world of potential, and I think if he comes out of the box next year and improves over the course of 2015 as much as he has over the course of 2014, you're going to see him in 2016 in one of the big three series.
Yeah, I've already had that thought myself, and I think it's going to be one that is definitely going to be well deserving of keeping one or maybe even both eyes on at points during the next couple of seasons. He's shown a lot of growth, as Ben Rhodes has, and we'll talk about it a little more, I know, when we get to talking to J.J. Haley here in a little bit, but, talk about Ben Rhodes. He's already using this to parlay some bigger opportunities. Kyle, you mentioned it just a minute ago, running the ARCA Racing Series event this weekend at Kentucky. I'll tell you, I hope they get the race in Friday, because it seems like they've been plagued by rain and more rain all week long. They finally got the open test done, and Will Kimmel was fastest in not one, not two, but 3 different race cars.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting situation because, of course, Matt Tipp couldn't make it. I think he had to take exams where he goes to school. And with Michael Lira, he didn't make the test. I think I asked him on Twitter, and he said he wasn't there. But he is racing. Both of those two guys are racing tomorrow night. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. And Will Kimmel has been quick this year, has shown the speed. Of course, showing some good speed at the Pocono ARCA test back in June, finishing 4th in June there, and then finishing 2nd to Justin Allison in August. So really, it's going to be an interesting race come Friday night, because even you said Ben Rhodes is showing speed as well. And with Will Kimmel, definitely, this could possibly really be a good opportunity to get his first win finally, coming up. So I'm so short of Pocono back in August, and this could be the weekend that maybe Will Kimmel or somebody else, someone like Ben Rhodes, who is making a Super Speedway debut, so we might see a first-time winner come Friday night.
Yeah, I've had that thought here, and I want to bring Tom in on this because it's one of the things that I think we've kind of discussed without really discussing it, I guess, Tom. But what do you feel like Ben's chances are this weekend? Because, yes, it is his quote-unquote super speedway debut. He's never run on a 1.5 miles before because he wasn't old enough until this weekend at Kentucky. But I would have to argue that regardless of whether he's been on an intermediate track or not, we know how Ben drives and we know how quickly he's able to adapt to a different situation. He'll be in the mix. I can't not think that Ben won't be in the mix to get at least the top 5, if not challenge for the win before it's all over on Friday night. I just think the equipment that Turner Scott Motorsports is putting behind him is too good, and he as a driver, I think, is too good not to take this chance and run with it.
Well, let's think about a few things here, Jacob. Where is it that he's racing?
Kentucky.
And where is his home state and his family from?
Kentucky, Louisville specifically.
Okay, now we know that Ben can race many things. I've seen him very successfully race go-karts. We've both seen him very successfully race in Legends cars. We've seen him race successfully in late models. We've seen him race successfully in K&N East. We've seen him race a bed successfully.
And
I would have to think that the ARCA car, it's just a matter of laps. And yes, I expect Ben Rhodes to be in the mix. I think particularly at Kentucky's not a terribly difficult track to adjust to. I think he's going to do very well. I would expect him to contend for the win, honestly, and certainly to run top 5. I really believe he'll be in the mix, and I think this is going to be a great time for him just to be able to go and run in front of his family and friends and in his home state in a situation where there's really nothing more on the line than just simply winning the race. So I think it's the perfect scenario for him to really show what he can do, and I think the longer the race goes, the better Ben Rhodes will get.
I do tend to agree with that statement, Tom. And while we're talking about ARCA, I want to talk about one more driver real quick before we go to commercial. And I'm sure we'll hear this name from J.J. Haley a little bit later on because J.J.'s had some pretty fun battles with him earlier on in the season. But, Kyle, I want to ask you, we're talking about guys who we think have a chance to win. I know we haven't talked about him much this season. He's been quiet, almost uncharacteristically quiet. But the 4-time winner at Kentucky, do we call him a dark horse per se, Frank Kimmel? I know, obviously, Frank wants to get to victory lane. He's not gone a season in the ARCA Series without a win since almost literally the dark ages. What do you think Frank's chances are this weekend? Because he wasn't spectacular in testing, but of course Frank Kimmel is one of those who it seems like never shows his full hand until it's time to drop the green flag and go racing.
Yeah, it's been since Kansas last year since he hasn't won when he clinched the championship and won the race. But back to business. Frank Kimmel has shown speed on some short tracks this year. Haven't seen the super speedway speed as much. But, with the announcement today, I don't know if either of you caught it, with Mason Mingus leaving Wintron Racing and going to Billy Boat Motorsports for trucks. I'm wondering whether Wintron will put more effort into his ARCA ride now with this, but I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on that. But it's a possibility. But I'm just wondering where the speed has been from that team. I know he was at Thor Sport last year with ARC and won the championship. Now at Wintron, who finished second to Frank last year. They could show the speed, but Frank Kimmel can definitely show the speed when it comes to a track, any track, because he's won 80 times in ARCA, the most all time, and has 10 championships. So. I never count him out. It doesn't matter what racetrack you go to, whether it's a dirt track or a short track or a super speedway, you can never count out Frank Kimmel.
I'm almost, I don't know whether to feel offended or just plain shocked. Kyle found out some breaking news before I did, because that's absolutely news to me about the Mingus announcement. I guess that shows I've been slightly out of the loop the last couple hours. I don't know. But that's going to be really interesting, I have to admit. And I'll be interested to see how this one shakes out with the Truck Series deal. That looks like it is scheduled to start at Las Vegas. So 6 races to go, and it's going to be interesting to see how Mingus makes the transition over to Billy Boat Motorsports. We'll keep an eye on that and try to follow up with additional information as we can get it. Right now, we're going to take a caution flag here this evening on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Much more ahead, including 2 live interviews here tonight. We'll talk ARCA and late model action because J.J. Haley and Tyler Dipple still to come on tonight's show. Stay tuned. We roll forward right after this, race fans. And if you want to get in on the conversation, you can. Just give us a call at the Race Chaser Hotline, 347-989-0783 to talk motorsports with us. Again, that's 347-989-0783. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
Packers,
Vikings,
Red State,
Blue State.
We come from different places.
Uptown,
Downtown.
We come to different conclusions.
half empty,
Half full.
But no matter how different we are, we're all connected, and we can all make a difference. That's why United Way brings people, expertise, and resources together to improve the education, income, and health of our communities, the building blocks for a better life. When we live united, our efforts, magnified by others, add up to real change. Children succeed in school, families gain financial stability, the health of our neighbors improves, and suddenly, so do our communities. But real change won't happen without you.
Live united.
So let's look beyond our differences.
Live united.
One by one, let's make a difference. Let's reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all.
Live united.
Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Sign up today at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, Kyle Magda around tonight's round table. And as we continue to roll forward through tonight's show, our favorite subjects on Thursday nights are pavement late models, modifieds, and regional touring series. I want to go to the second of those 3 in that list, Tom, and talk some modified racing. We'll talk about it a little more with Kyle Souza later in the show, but your little specialty right now, the NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour, getting ready to continue action this weekend. They're heading back to Caraway Speedway for the first of 2 straight races at the Caraway Speedway as they really get into the final stretch of the 2014 championship. We've seen Andy Seiss dominate. We've seen Burt Myers go on a hot streak, almost win 3 consecutive races, but I can read my schedule eventually. Southern National on the agenda before we head to Caraway. They've got 2 dates at Caraway after this weekend. So let me rephrase my statement. We're going to Southern National first, but that still doesn't change the fact that you've got an Andy Seiss and a Burt Myers show. Why do I not say George Bernhosel's name? I wonder. He hasn't won since, about April.
Well, yes, but I don't think that's any indication of the future potential there. And Georgie, when he hasn't won, he's been in the mix, especially early in the year. Andy just got off to a hot start. That's really he came out of the box very strong. And again, there were a couple of those shows, or at least one that I remember. I want to say it was South Boston, the first show at South Boston where Andy qualified. I think he started pole, and Georgie had to start in the back. So by the time Georgie got up to the front, there was just not enough race left. I don't want to discount George Bernhosel III at all. But, yeah, it has been an unusual season on the tour in the sense of having 2 guys just basically terrorizing this series. And both drivers have had great seasons. I mean, Burt Myers obviously is a staple. He's been around forever here in the South, it seems like, and certainly a crowd pleaser. And you've got Andy Seiss, who just really came out of the box super strong with that team this year. They gelled very quickly, which is not always the case when you have, a new group of people together. And so I would expect to see Georgie up in the mix, and I would expect to see, of course, Danny Bone got a win here not too long ago at the stadium, and I would expect to see Danny contending. And you've got a good group of racers on this tour that you really never know going down the stretch. But if we're going to talk contenders at Southern National, I think you got to stay with the hot hands, and certainly Burt Myers will be in it. But I really I like Andy or Georgie at Southern National. I think either of those two would be the odds-on favorites, and that's such I love that place. It's such a nice facility and just a big, fast racetrack. It's just a lot of fun to watch anything race there, let alone the modifieds.
Burt Myers. I'm telling you, Burt Myers is the ticket here this weekend. I know J.R. Bertuccio shocked the world and won his first tour race back here at Southern National in the spring, but Burt Myers, he's the only multiple winner at the racetrack. He's a former pole sitter, and he won the spring race last year. He's never won the fall race, but he's won 2 of the last 3. I think he finished either second or third in the other one. So I'm telling you, there's an easy ticket to this. I think the 1 ends up in victory lane this weekend, gets his 3rd win in the last 4 races. And I'm going to check the points here in just a second and see, but I'm not convinced that Burt Myers can't make a comeback and contend for this championship, because this is a driver who really, really wants to win a second title. And as I look at the math right now, he's 38 points out of the lead. He gets another win here or goes to Charlotte with 3 wins. He's won at Charlotte a couple of times before. I am not convinced that Andy Seiss has this championship sewn up, because schedule, I think, plays almost into Myers' hands.
Well, I just am not as convinced that Myers is that much better than Seiss at a lot of these places. And that would actually include Southern National. I think this year things are a little different. I don't think you can look at past years and you can speculate about drivers that seem to be good at certain racetracks, but Andy Seiss and that team have been so strong this year. I don't necessarily go into the Southern National race thinking that Burt Myers is a lock at all, nor do I think that even if he does win, he might get back into the championship race. But I still think this is going to get down to the wire. And, again, this is a great series. This is a series that a lot of times this is a quality over quantity situation. You may only get 18 or 19 cars, but at most tracks that's enough to put on a great show. But the biggest thing with this series is you've got a lot of quality. You've got some really, really competitive racers. There's at least half a dozen to 8 of them on any given day that can run for the win, and they race hard all the way through. So it's a lot of fun to watch. There's a lot of horsepower there, big, wide tires. It's just a completely different style of racing than what a lot of our listeners are used to with the late models and the heavier stock cars. And these guys put on great shows down here in these tracks, as they do up north, of course, with the series up there and the tracks up there that run them. And so I'm not as convinced as you are that Burt Myers is going to walk this thing, but certainly he's capable of it. And they say he's been around a long time, so he knows all these tracks like the back of his hand.
Yeah, he does. I'll give him that. And I think he's got a shot at this. I don't know why, but I think there's still a shot at this. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. I'll give you your point, and I'll say I'll wait and see. But my I've got a gut feeling on this one, and that's all I'm going to say on that. But Southern National this weekend for the Southern Modifieds. We'll talk a little later with Kyle Loudon coming up this weekend for the Northern Modifieds, and just a lot of things going on, Tom, and I'll shift from Modifieds now to super late models for a minute. This another hot button subject going into the weekend. Tomorrow and Saturday, the final two races this season for the Sunoco Southern Super Series, and look at that. Second season of the series, and it comes down 5 drivers this weekend have a mathematical shot at it, but realistically it comes down to 2 who are 8 points apart, who were last year's 2 fighting for the championship, Bubba Pollard and Daniel Hemrick, who are this year's 2 that I think are basically the only 2 that have a realistic shot at fighting for this championship, Bubba Pollard, Tom, and Daniel Hemrick.
Yeah, once is random, twice is a pattern. And this is the second straight year that it's really, as you say, there's about 4 or 5 of them that have a mathematical shot. And as we all know, in motorsports, if you've got a mathematical shot, you've got a shot. It's that old Dumb and Dumber line. So you're saying there's a chance. Anything can happen, but realistically, these 2 guys are the 2 guys in the series that, from race to race, that's it. Just goes through those 2 guys. If you're going to win, you've got to beat Bubba and you've got to beat Daniel. Bubba, a veteran who, again, like Burt Myers, has been around that part of the country and that form of racing forever, and Daniel, who's the young upstart who's trying to make a name for himself and finally get over that hump and into one of NASCAR's big 3 series, and as you say, look who's fighting for it again. Those 2, that series is it's kind of a lot of conversation right now about the future of that series and what it is going to look like in 2015. But regardless of what the future holds, these last couple of races are going to be phenomenal. And I really, last year Daniel needed a little help from Lady Luck to win, and I think he won by a point, if I remember that correctly. Yeah.
A point.
And so, I guess you have to make Bubba the favorite until someone proves otherwise, but Daniel Hemrick is one of the most intelligent short track race car drivers I know right now, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he goes and wins the race. Not just to beat Bubba Pollard, but just go and win the race. And it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him end up winning his 2nd championship in a row in that series.
Well, basically, all he has to do is win the race to win the championship. I think the points are just about that close. Don't quote me on that. And I
wasn't sure if it was as simple as that or not, but
it's close. It's close.
Okay.
I know it's only 8 points, but it's if it's not win the race by yourself in about 2 or 3 positions. I know that much. So we'll wait and see how it shakes out. Right now, we're going to head to our bottom of the hour commercial break. When we come back, we are talking with Venturini Motorsports ARCA Racing Series driver J.J. Haley on his most recent outing at Salem Speedway, an outing where, barring a couple of issues late in the race, I feel like he had a shot to win that event, and we'll hear from him exactly what he thought he could have done with it in the final 30 or 40 laps right after this. Stay tuned. You are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. We'll be right back.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Knives, nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
Race Chaser Online and Speed 77 Radio has gone live. All 3 of the Race Chaser Online Speed 77 Radio branded podcasts can now be found live on blogtalkradio.com. Look for Motorsports Madness Monday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker, along with all of their cast of characters, covering everything from NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, Super Dirt Car Series Modifieds, World of Outlaws, Sprint Cars, V8 Supercars, and everything in between. That's Motorsports Madness, Monday nights at 7 p.m. Then on Tuesday nights, it's time to talk New York Dirt with Turn 5 Live, hosted by Steve Ovens, Clint Miller, and Brad Ovens. They talk everything from the local scene in the Finger Lakes to the national dirt racing news. That's Turn 5 Live, Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on blogtalkradio.com/Turn5Live. Then on Thursday nights, it's time to go full fendered action with the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, and Kyle Souza. That's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Go to blogtalkradio.com/RaceChaserOnline, and for all of the news, views, and driver interviews, go to www.racechaseronline.com.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and Kyle Magda around tonight's round table. And race fans, if you want to get in on the conversation here on Speed 77, you can do so by calling our Race Chaser hotline at 347-989-0783. Once again, that number tonight, 347-989-0783. And call in if you want to get a chance to ask a question of our next guest, who comes to us fresh off a very, very promising run in the ARCA Racing Series at Salem Speedway. I know it didn't turn out how he wanted, but certainly turned a lot of heads along the way. J.J. Haley joining us from Venturini Motorsports. And, J.J., first off, really glad to have you back on the show tonight. And unfortunate the way your run at Salem ended, though I know the result doesn't show how good you guys were through that entire race. I know it got derailed, but how confident were you guys that had things not fallen the way they did over the final 40 laps or so, that you guys could have contended for that victory?
Definitely. We struggled a little bit in practice all day, but when we got to qualifying, we were pretty stout, and we went out to qualifying on my warm-up lap. I blew a right rear. Still qualified 10th with a flat right rear, though, and just kind of was floating around in the pack, and we had a right front wheel bad early on in the race. But we came in and put 4 on. We were extremely fast, and my mentoring crew gave me an awesome pit stop and an awesome car to race, and we were getting laps back, and as crazy as it sounds, we went 147 laps green. I wish we could have gone all 200 green, because I believe that we could have lapped the whole field again and ran away with the win pretty easily.
How tough was it for you guys with as hard as you had to battle back? I know you guys had a really good race car through the whole weekend, but how tough was it knowing that you guys really, I guess, were batting from about a step behind most of the afternoon?
Yeah, it was kind of an awkward situation, being a few laps down. We got 5 laps down or so, and we were passing the leader. We lapped the leader 3 times, and we were extremely fast, and we were really trying to save tires at that point. We had a good set of tires on to begin with, so I was just running as hard as I could, trying to get all I could until that caution came out. But otherwise than that, I mean, we were on a roll.
Talk about racing at Salem, JJ, because I have to believe that was a real interesting adventure for you. I've heard so many stories about. I've never had the opportunity to go to Salem, but I've heard so many stories about the way you have to drive that track and how deceptively fast it is for its size. Would you agree with that, and talk about your experience racing there?
Yeah, I was never there previous to them paving 3 and 4, so I was kind of up to grabs on what the new pavement was really going to do, and I didn't have bad habits to break from the old 3 and 4 to the new 3 and 4 like some of the other drivers. But 3 and 4s are really smooth, run up close to the wall, and you know, the front stretch, there's kind of a transition from coming off of 4 to the front stretch, and it's pretty bumpy. I mean, I think I could fit in some of the cracks, but 1 and 2, the car just kind of floats around, and I mean, you're hauling some mail there for how small the track really is.
Talk a little bit about that point in the race when you got so many laps down. Did that change your strategy at all? I mean, when you get 5 laps down in a race like that, especially on a short track, there necessarily isn't a ton of time to make up that ground.
Well, yeah, my crew chase, when we were running and had that right front go bad, he gave me the decision to come in or stay out. I mean, we were going so far back. I think we got lapped twice within a matter of 30 laps, and it really wasn't worth it at that point, so I decided to come in. And when we put 4 tires on and went back out, we were just so extremely fast. All of my crew guys' head and mine just kind of lifted up, and we had that extra push to keep driving and making good pit stops all night.
Hey, JJ, it's Kyle Magda here. You have some ARCA races under your belt. What's been the biggest obstacle that you've witnessed so far in the series?
Honestly, I think the biggest obstacle is restarts. You got so much power, so much motor, so little tire, but you got to go second, third, fourth in just a matter of a few feet, and going from 45, 50 to 120, 130. I've never really shifted before, so that is probably the biggest learning curve I've had so far this year.
Yeah, and you also ran those 2 K&N races. Did you notice any differences between the ARCA cars and the K&N cars?
Actually, a big difference. Not really chassis or body-wise, more motor. The K&N car really didn't have as much motor, not even a comparable amount of motor. So it was a little easier to shift on the restart because there's actually a bigger bias tire on the K&N car. So it was a little smoother running with everything. And I thought the K&N series was a little easier car-wise, but there's a lot of tough competition, and I give props to all them guys that go out there week to week and try their hardest. I mean, it is a very tough series.
We've seen you jump around in almost everything this season, I think, JJ. We've seen you in the ARCA car. We've seen you in a K&N car. We've seen you in a Legend car. We've seen you on dirt. We've seen you in a late model. I don't know that there's been too much of anything at the short track level this season that you haven't jumped in at one time or another. What's it been like for you jumping back and forth between as many different machines as you have this season? We talk about a learning curve, but it just seems like you don't have that near as much as some of the other young guys your age. You just jump in a car and go. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's got 4 wheels, you'll try and go and see if you can't win in it.
Definitely. I'm blessed to have all the people I have around me. It makes it that just more easier to get in a different car every week. I think the biggest obstacle is getting me fit in every car of how short I am and not being able to reach the pedals or switches. It's probably the biggest difficulty. But, no, I got really great people around me. They make it so easy to learn, and they gave me great tips and advice.
looking at this now, you've been in the Venturini driver development program this season. Obviously, have gotten the opportunity to run a bunch of different races between Venturini and some of their partnerships. Looking forward a little bit now, what's next on the agenda for you for 2015? Have you guys got any plans that you're working on yet? Where are we going to see you back on track?
I'm not really quite sure. I can't tell you for sure. I'm hoping to be back in the K&N and ARCA series for sure. Do some of the bigger late model races like the 400 and the Derby, and just kind of play it by ear how it goes and see what happens.
Looking at this, too, one of the other things you had a lot of fun with over the summer that I actually got a chance to play witness to some during the summer was your time in the Legend car. And I know you and I talked about the fact that you felt like that taught you a lot going back to the ARCA car and some of the bigger stuff just because of some of the things you learned as far as driving style when you were in the Legend car. Any chance we see you back in one of those here going forward? I know there's not a whole lot of else going on over the winter for you, so I would imagine there might be some opportunities there.
You know what, how cool it sounds, but we're working a deal right now with Daniel Hemrick and all of them to try to do the winter heat down in Charlotte. So hopefully that goes through. That'd be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I get some road course racing in the Legend car. Maybe help me a little bit for the road course races in the bigger series next year.
Well, I remember after one of the shootout heat races that you ran, I can remember walking down to the pits and I saw you, and I don't remember who you were standing with, but I just remember you had been in a particularly heated battle, and you just had the biggest smile on your face, and I said, "Great job, JJ," and you said, "Oh man, that was so intense." You just look like you were having a great time with that. I think it's cool that you're going to get to come back and do some more of that.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It's just such a different type of driving style. You got kids all around you, and they're great drivers, and you kind of beating and banging, grinding on each other, and you got that horsepower in that little car, and I mean, it's just so fun to go around there.
Looking at this going forward now, JJ, I know obviously you guys are working on stuff for 15, looking at running the winter heat for 2014, but this has been a season for you with a lot of change as far as what you've been driving, but a lot of success too, as far as strong runs, being able to contend for wins, grabbing some wins along the way. Do you feel like this season has met up to everything you envisioned it was going to be when you guys set out to do this at the start of the year?
Yeah, could have been a little better, had a few more wins, but that's what everybody says. It was just really a learning process for everybody, and my crew, through all the teams, and myself especially.
And JJ, before we cut you loose tonight, obviously you've had a lot of strong runs along the way this year, and I know that's not possible by yourself, so I want to give you the chance to shout out to all those people that have helped make it happen for you this year. Who does make it happen for JJ Haley?
My whole family, my late model crew, all the ARCA guys, the K&N guys, and Daniel Hemrick, especially in the Legend deal. Just everybody that's been there to support me and give me a little bit of sponsorship help. Make it happen for me. My mom is a big supporter, and my uncle and my stepdad and my grandpa.
And I know the ARCA job for you this season is done now. Any chance we see you in a car before the winter heat? Have you guys got anything left on the schedule?
Yep, the 2 K&N races at Dover and Phoenix we hope to be at and hopefully run strong at.
We're looking forward to seeing you back on track, JJ. Again, appreciate you coming on tonight, and look forward to seeing you on track next Friday at Dover. Wish you the best of luck for that one, and maybe we'll see you on the air here in a couple of weeks talking about a strong run after that K&N race. I know Dover, a really, really fun racetrack. If you thought Salem was fun, I think stay tuned. The Monster Mile is even more fun.
I hope so. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. I appreciate it. Hope to talk to you real soon after a win.
As do we, JJ. With that, we will send it to a caution flag here tonight on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. When we come back, we're going from the ARCA Series to the super late model scene to talk with pass North and South driver this season, Tyler Dipple. He is just 4 points out of the lead in the national championship chase, and he's looking to become the youngest past national champion in history. That's coming up after this business. Stay tuned. The Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show rolls on when we come back.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas? 1 in 300 million. The odds of the daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland spending 11 weeks at number 1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records? 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker still at tonight's round table, and we move from the ARCA scene over to the super late model scene to continue our conversation. And race fans, if you want to get in on the conversation, you can call us up now at 347-989-0783 to chat motorsports with us or talk with our guests tonight. Again, that's 347-989-0783. And our next guest comes to us in the midst of a heated championship battle. He has had a lot of success this season on both the past North and past South super late model tours in 2014 and is looking to become the youngest past national champion in series history. Tyler Dipple rejoining the show. We had him back on earlier this season after a strong run at Hickory Motor Speedway in April. The series returning there this weekend, Tyler, and I'm sure that gives you a lot of confidence. But you've had a lot of strong runs to be confident about here the last couple of weeks, and we're glad to have you back on the show with us.
Oh, yeah, it's just amazing to be back on the show tonight. The car's been just so good this year, and just have like an awesome team to back me up the whole entire year to give me just great cars the whole year just to be running this good.
For you this season, I know it's been a lot of bouncing around, coming south to run races, moving around the Northeast to run some races this season, but you've been extremely strong on the past tour this year and in the hunt for this national championship title. I think Ben Rowe finally got to you and leads it by 4 points with just a couple races to go, but did you guys envision to be this close to your first major league championship like this after the way the season started? Because you guys had a little bit of a rough go of it in the start of the season before things really got rolling.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting this to be a championship contender. In the beginning of the season, things were a little bit rocky. We had a lot of bad luck in the beginning of the season, but once things started to turn around, we started having some pretty strong finishes there, and we're in the hunt for the championship now, and I think it's, like you said, 4 points with just Kenley to go, so I guess it's really whoever finishes in front of who is going to win the championship pretty much.
And continuing on from that, Tyler, certainly one of those seasons that for you as a young driver is one to remember for you. Is there anything specific that you guys have hit on this season, or something that you take away from here going forward that can attribute almost to the success you've had this year? It seems like this has been a season for you where you guys have figured out a lot of things in really a short amount of time.
Oh, yeah, this season has been just a big learning process for us. We've been able to go to the tracks and adapt really quickly, and for next year, I mean, we could take that knowledge that we learned and apply it next year and just be fast to begin with, and then work on the setup from there and get even faster. I think this year has been huge success, just learning for me to get used to these cars and to get used to asphalt better, and I think next season will be even better, and hopefully we can come home with the championship this year.
Well, yeah, if you get a championship this year, next year you set the bar pretty high for yourself. Come back and try to make it 2 in a row, I guess, right?
I mean, I'm not really sure what the plans are for asphalt next year. I think we might do a little bit of super late model stuff, but we're not really sure yet. For dirt, I think we're definitely on the weeks off like we did this year, run some big block Tour Series races, but not really sure what the plans are for asphalt next year.
I want to talk about the dirt stuff for a minute or two, Tyler, because as much as it's amazing that you're doing what you're doing in the past series on the asphalt, it's really amazing what you've been able to accomplish in the dirt series. You've won a couple of really big races this year in that series.
Oh, yeah, I think probably we've been running the short track super series promoted by Brett Day. We've been trying to get to all his races, and I think those cars just help you run an asphalt better so much, and the asphalt cars help you run in dirt. It's kind of like an equalizer. One helps you with the other, I think, because I think it makes you a better driver overall running both, and I think that really helps you as a driver moving forward, because it helps you learn different things that you wouldn't necessarily learn in the one car to apply to the other. And helping run asphalt helped me get a lot better this year, and yeah, like you said, being able to pick up a couple really big wins this year, and it's just been awesome.
Which do you enjoy more, the dirt or the asphalt?
I mean, I just love both of them. I couldn't really pick one if I really had to. They're just so different in so many ways.
What is the dirt cars? What do they require of you as a driver that's different from the pavement car? I mean, obviously we watch and we see everybody sliding around and all that, but from a purely a driving standpoint, as far as how you actually physically drive the cars, what's different?
Most of the cars, like in asphalt cars, you have to hit your line every single time in the same mark. In the dirt cars, you have to move around and try and search for the grip. And those cars have such big motor, it teaches you really good throttle control, because the motors and those things make so much power. You got to be really easy on the throttle, and you're always searching for grip and moving around and trying to find the best line. I just think it helps you in asphalt with throttle control, and especially in the past series, because you have to save your tires for every races, because the tires wear out because they don't let you change any tires, and I just think helps you save your tires and be there at the end better.
Now, I had a conversation about you a couple of weeks ago with somebody, and they had no idea you were only 14 years old. is this one of those situations where even though it's almost the end of the season, are you still kind of pinching yourself and just looking in the mirror and going, how in the world did I get here?
In somewhat respect, yeah. I mean, I had no idea I was going to be able to get this far in the past series. I mean, at first, we weren't even really planning to run the National. We were only going to run the South, but after the first two races in the South, because they were South races, I was in the points lead, and we decided to run the past National, and worked out. Here we are as a championship contender, 4 points down with one race to go, and could end up with a championship here, so that would be awesome.
If you're able to pull off the championship, Tyler, I know this has been a season for you that really, it's been a season where you've overachieved almost to a lot of people. If you're able to get this championship back at the finale for the National Championship Series at Southern National here in November, would that change anything that you guys take as far as your approach to 2015? This season for you, I've seen you grow so much as a driver confidence-wise, and I just wonder how big that championship would be for you if you guys can get it here in November.
Oh, yeah, the championship would be huge. I'm not really sure, like I said, what we're going to do. It might change the outcome, what we're going to run for 2015, but I'm not quite sure really what the plans are going to be for asphalt next year.
I know you've been strong, certainly, so we hope to see you on the pavement some in 2015. Looking ahead here now, Tyler, of course, this season not quite over. You come back to Hickory this weekend, which is really the place where this all started for you, this run of momentum when you got that top 5 finish in the Easter Bunny back in April. How confident are you guys going into this weekend's 150 at Hickory that you can maybe do a couple spots better?
Just really confident. Hickory is one of my favorite tracks to go back to there. I just love the track. I love that slick there, and I think we'll have a really good car there. And I just can't wait for this weekend. Hopefully we could get a good finish there, too.
And before we cut you loose, I know you can't do it by yourself, Tyler. There's been a lot of people that have gone into making this season happen for you, both on the pavement side and the dirt side, and want to give you a chance to shout out to those people. So who makes it happen for Tyler Dipple?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my mom and dad, Tycar Trenchless Technologies, DNA Concrete, Buggy Pletcher for the asphalt cars, Jarek Johnson for always spying for me, Glenn Sullivan, and Matt Hearn for dirt cars up here, and all the other people that help me get to the track every week.
And Tyler, I know I want to wish you the best of luck this weekend at Hickory. You guys are gunning for a strong run and looking forward to see what you can do the rest of this season. Wish you the best of luck as you guys try to nail down this past national championship. I think it's going to be fun, and I know we're looking forward to watching to see if you guys can pull the comeback off.
Yeah, thank you.
That is Tyler Dipple, and we appreciate his time on the show here tonight. We are going to take another caution flag, and when we come back, we're going to go to a New England News and Notes segment and bring in our esteemed Kyle Souza back to the round table with us to talk everything from up in the Northeast. That's next after these words. You are listening to Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. We'll be right back.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888 752-7272.
Race Chaser Online and Speed 77 Radio has gone live. All three of the Race Chaser Online Speed 77 Radio branded podcasts can now be found live on blogtalkradio.com. Look for Motorsports Madness Monday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker, along with all of their cast of characters, covering everything from NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, Super Dirt Car Series Modifieds, World of Outlaws, Sprint Cars, V8 Supercars, and everything in between. That's Motorsports Madness, Monday nights at 7 p.m. Then on Tuesday nights, it's time to talk New York Dirt with Turn 5 Live, hosted by Steve Ovens, Clint Miller, and Brad Ovens. They talk everything from the local scene in the Finger Lakes to the national dirt racing news. That's Turn 5 Live, Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. on blogtalkradio.com/Turn5Live. Then on Thursday nights, it's time to go full fendered action with the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m., hosted by Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, and Kyle Souza. That's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Go to blogtalkradio.com/RaceChaserOnline, and for all of the news, views, and driver interviews, go to www.racechaseronline.com.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker around tonight's round table, and in just a couple of moments we're going to hear from our New England analyst Kyle Souza. But first, Tom, one of the things I do want to hit on really quickly is the fact that we've still got a lot of racing going on. We've talked about a lot of different things tonight, and you know, we were talking about this past National Championship Series and the fact that it encompasses a lot of different big races on the past schedule, but one of the races it doesn't encompass is the one that happened this weekend, and though we weren't able to get him on the show, I think it deserves mention for just a second, the fact that Derek Ramstrom picked up arguably the biggest win of his career in the past 300, and Kyle will have the analysis on the race, but the 300 at Beech Ridge, the longest race that Pass runs over the course of a season, very grueling race, even more so than one of the most legendary races up there, the Oxford 250, and we've seen it take so much to win that race over the years, and Ramstrom is a name that we've not heard a whole lot about over the last couple of years, the driver who kind of has been off the mainstream racing scene for the last little bit, just running late models up in the Northeast. He had a shot in the NASCAR realm for a while, but nice to see his name pop back up, and like we said at the top of the show, tried to get him on for tonight. Unfortunately, that didn't quite work out, but we're working to reschedule that. But just all in all, really a case of the little guys stepping up to do some pretty big things.
Yeah, no question. I mean, and again, that series up there, the Pass North series, really all of pro stock or super late model racing up there, extremely competitive. I mean, we talk about how competitive it is here in the South. It's far more competitive up north. Not to detract from the South, it's just been around a lot longer up there, and there are a lot more veteran drivers that have been racing those things for years up there. It's just, that's a mainstay in the New England area, and certainly glad to see him pick up the win, and disappointing that we couldn't get him on tonight. We had him confirmed, but then he had a last-minute situation come up, and that happens sometimes. So we roll with the punches here, and certainly we'll welcome him back at any time when he has a few minutes to chat with us and our fans here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show. But congratulations to him and his team on a very big win. Like you said, that's a grueling race. 300 laps in any race car is grueling, and that's a big time victory right there.
Yeah, it is. And with that, a little bit of analysis from us here in the studio, we're going to take a 15-second pause for station identification, come right back, and roll into New England news and notes with Kyle Souza. Stay tuned.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and now Kyle Souza rejoining our roundtable tonight. And race fans, if you want to get involved in the conversation, you can call in and speak with us at 347-989-0783. Again, the Race Chaser hotline, 347-989-0783. And glad to welcome Souza back to the roundtable again here on a Thursday night. Kyle, certainly a lot going on this weekend. It's championship weekend for a lot of the New England tracks, so we want to dive right into the nitty-gritty of tonight's New England news and notes, because in addition to it being championship week on the local level, it's also Wheel and Modified Tour Race Week at Loudon.
Well, Jacob, the Modified Racing Series will return to the New Hampshire Motor Speedway on Saturday afternoon. We'll get to that in just a second, but first let's recap what's going on this weekend as far as the local track scene up here in New England. Stafford's going to continue their Friday night program as they head down to the wire with their championship chase. The SK Modified division has been the one that's been strong this year, their strongest division, their top-tier division, and the closest champion battle headed into the final weeks of the season. Ryan Priest is actually leading that championship chase, the NASCAR next driver, and he is ready to try and continue that fight and hopefully for him pick up a championship with the Stafford Motor Speedway. But there are some hot challengers on his tail. Rowan Pennick is there. Rowan is also a Wheel and Modified Tour competitor if they get ready. But they're all chasing Teddy Christopher. As of last week's events, Christopher holds a 10-point advantage over Priest. It's 40 back to Pennick, and then they're going to fight each other out. Those three look like they're going to be the three to decide the championship. Keith Rocco right now is sitting just about 55 out, so he's going to need some help, but he could have a chance at that championship before it's all said and done. Following that, Rocco is going to take his machine, and they're going to load up and head over to Waterford Speed Bowl on Saturday night, where they are winding down their 2014 season. Their banquet for their Wednesday night program is actually going on as we speak up at the Waterford Speed Bowl. But for them, they'll head to Waterford Saturday night. Last week, of course, Mother Nature hindering their action, as well as a lot of the tracks up here in New England. But the SK Modifieds fighting it out this coming Saturday night. They're at the Waterford Speedway, along with the late models, the mini stocks, and a couple other of Waterford's divisions. Rocco's got a 227-point advantage over Craig Lutz, so he's going to clinch that championship starting the main event on Saturday night. From Waterford, you can also attend Seacock Speedway, Seacock, Mass., their final points night of the season. All the championship chases pretty well decided. Ray Lovelace has clinched the street stocks. Bobby Pelland has clinched the late models. Bob Murphy's going to clinch the trucks as long as he starts the 25-lap feature. In the Pro Stock Championship chase, their super late model division is going to go right down to the final checkered flag. It's 12 points separating Kenny Spencer, your current leader, and Dave Darling. Kenny has not won a championship in his history at the Seacock Speedway in the Pro Stocks. He is a former late model champion. Darling is a 5-time champion, and they're going to fight it out. 12 points the difference. It's 2 points per position. So Darling's going to need a little bit of help, but I know that the Alameda Farms gang can gang up together and give Spencer a run for his money. Get some other drivers that are going to be trying to pick up a win Saturday night at the Seacock Speedway. Jacob, we mentioned the Wheel and Modified Tour. They're headed to Loudon for the second time in 2014, their final appearance there. I was looking earlier at the championship standings. We've talked about this before over the last couple of weeks. These title chases, not only for the Tour, but all throughout New England, a lot of them are tight and hotly contested, and this Wheel and Modified Tour championship chase is really going to take a swing at New Hampshire. These guys could either win or lose the title in those 100 laps Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, they really could, and one of the guys that needs basically to win the race and hope to have a little bit of help is a guy like a Ryan Preece who's sitting mired back there, third, fourth in the championship. You've got guys like Bobby Santos who really want to get back in it, and if we're looking at a guy who I think could potentially get back in the fight, it is Santos. He won this event the last time the Tour was here in July, and, you know, we talk about it being such a wild card, but Santos definitely one of the most consistent drivers there, despite the fact that, Kyle, we had a Tour record set last time that the Tour was allowed 35 official lead changes over the 110 laps. Had a little bit of overtime, 2 green-white checkered attempts, but I'll tell you, if it's anything like it was in July, it's going to be hot and heavy at the front, a lot of lead changes, and just like it always seems to be here in the Magic Mile, I suspect that record even could be in jeopardy come Saturday afternoon.
And Jacob, a lot of people say, and of course we don't want to take anything away from the Sprint Cup Series of the Chase, but a lot of people say that's going to be the best racing event of the coming weekend up there at Loudon. I'll be up there Sunday afternoon covering the Sprint Cup race for us, but I really think that the mods are going to put on a phenomenal show as they always do. We got a lot of passes that I'm sure will be made, of course, of that one. We mentioned the championship. Going into the weekend, Doug Coby's up by 4 on Justin Bonsignor. In that, Teddy Christopher's about 50 out. He, Bobby Santos, and Ronnie Silk all in a tangle hold, trying to get a top 3, and Ryan Preece still sitting there trying to dog on position. But it's really a 6-man race now. We're down to Coby, Bonsignor, Christopher, Santos, Silk, and Ryan Preece. And a fun fact for the Tour fans, Doug Coby has finished in the top 10 in all 10 wheeler modified Tour events, Jacob, and that has propelled him to a 4-point advantage over Bonsignor as we head into the weekend.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, Doug Coby and his team, between them, I believe, have something about 3 of the last 4 wheel and modified Tour races at Loudon, New Hampshire, something like that. Between Coby himself and the team that he's now driving for, MS3 Racing, they have been on fire, and that's a scary combination for this weekend.
And we don't want to forget Todd Duggett. Drove that 2-car for the last couple of seasons. He picked up a win at Loudon in the past in that number 2, so Coby's got some big shoes to fill. He ran well up there in the first stint that they were up there at Loudon, New Hampshire, and I'm sure he's going to run well when the Tour returns there on Saturday afternoon. The green flag for that event, later, actually, than originally scheduled. The green flag is scheduled to come out after the Camping World Truck Series hits the racetrack on Saturday, so that race normally scheduled for 1 o'clock, but it's going to be at 3:30 Eastern following the Camping World Trucks. It's also going to be on tape delay for Saturday, September 27th. That's next Saturday at 10 a.m. That'll be on. Jacob, the other big event that we're going to recap from what happened last weekend before we continue to look ahead is the Past 300, held up at the Beech Ridge Motor Speedway in Maine. And, Jacob, it was Derek Ranstrom taking his number 35 home to victory in the longest Past North event of the 2014 season. He did it by passing DJ Shaw late, and he also passed defending race winner Austin Theriault to take home the win on Sunday afternoon. It was his 6th career Past North victory. He's only 22 years old, and he's done that feat in a matter of 2 years. The fight came down to the end between Ranstrom, Shaw, and Theriault. Shaw started back in 31st on the field Sunday afternoon. He charged his way to the front. Ranstrom collected some decent lap money, leading the most laps in the event, but when it came to the end, a little nudge to the back bumper with DJ Shaw, so a Ranstrom slide to the bottom and slide on by to the win Sunday afternoon in the Past 300 at the Beech Ridge Motor Speedway. Second place going to Shaw with Theriault hanging on for a third. 250 winner Travis Benjamin finished 4th, and Mike Rowe, a former 250 winner in his own right, rounding out the top 5 there on Sunday. These Past Tour guys are starting to hit their final stretch for the 2014 season, as they have a couple of races left. Of course, Mother Nature could play a factor in that with the weather forecast that she's been giving of late, even though overall the 2014 season has been phenomenal weather-wise so far up here in the Northeast. The championship standings for them see Shaw with a slight advantage over Johnny Clark, Mike Rowe, and Joey Doiron. They're going to go at it in the final couple of races of the 2014 season. Don't forget, the Past Tour will be next in action in the coming weeks, Saturday night, September the 26th, and Sunday the 27th, in their finale at the Oxford Plains Speedway for a 150-lapper.
Yeah, I've got 2 quick points on the pass side of things, Kyle. Number one, directly relating to the finish of that race and the move that Ramstrom pulled to get the win over DJ Shaw. That's a move that we've seen Shaw pull a couple of times this season, both in the North and most notably in the South, to win the Easter Bunny 150 back in April. I was actually at that race and watched the bump and run for DJ Shaw versus, I believe it was Tyler Church that afternoon, but almost ironic in a sense that Ramstrom gets the win on the same move that DJ Shaw has used to win 3 or 4 of these this season.
Well, Ranstrom's also, Jacob, we have to mention. Ranstrom is not only now a past tour competitor, but he also has the hands of a wheel and modified under his belt. He ran a couple of races with the Tour. He ran it at Waterford. He also ran the Open Wheel Wednesday show at the Seekonk Speedway back in July. He does have that modified that he can take out and play with if he wants to. And Ranstrom's not only a pass, but he's a modified guy, and I'm sure he's got some big races left in him, and he's going to go up there to the final event at Oxford. I'm sure he'll be at the Seekonk Speedway for the DAV Festival of Racing in a couple of weeks. There's a couple of big money races left that Ranstrom's in the charge for, and he's become kind of the money Matt Hirschman of the past tour. He and DJ Shaw together taking these big wins home, and that was definitely Ranstrom's biggest of his career this past Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it was. And just to put a bow on the pass story for this weekend, you mentioned Austin Terrio, who comes home in third. He's been using that series as a springboard here late, and Terrio actually going to be racing in the NASCAR Nationwide Series event on Saturday night at Kentucky Speedway, driving the 5-car for JR Motorsports, which has gone to victory lane 5 times this season, 4 with Kevin Harvick and once more at Daytona with Casey Kane. So Terrio, certainly, he's proven that he can be multifaceted as well, moving from the late model. Now he's got his shot at the NASCAR national level. And the 19-year-old from Maine, I see a lot of great things coming for him. He's, I think, a lot better shoe than people have given him credit for until now. And all of a sudden we're seeing him pop up in these quality rides, and he's taking them and doing something with them.
Well, Terrio also was a strong competitor, Jacob, earlier this year at the Oxford 250, a race that takes a lot of stamina and a lot of guts and drivability, and he had a great race car that afternoon as well. He's had some great cars put under him, but Terrio can absolutely plain out drive a race car, and it's great that he's getting an opportunity with Junior Motorsports in the Nationwide Series. He and Josh Berry together. Berry, earlier today was announced that Berry's going to be driving that 5 at Homestead Miami Speedway in the fall, another one of the super late model competitors that Junior's picked up. So not only props to Serial and Berry, but props to Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well for picking up some of these young talents and trying to advance them a little bit in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. That's turned into one of the driver development programs to watch here in the coming years. Of course, Chase Elliott, another name that has moved right through the short track ranks up through to National Series stardom with juniors. So always something to keep an eye on, Kyle. But I'm just curious real quick what you're most keeping an eye on, potentially besides the Wheel and Modified Tour race on Saturday afternoon, because I think we're all going to have about 5 eyes on that one.
Well, not only then the tour race this coming Saturday, but Jacob, more of a local guy. We all know that. And the Seekonk Speedway has had 69 years of a competition. And this coming Friday night, the championship's already decided. We're going to crown our first ever female champion at the Seekonk Speedway in the Seekonk Youth Racing Association 750 class. Jacob, Shelby Donovan picked up 5 feature wins, and she's going to pick up the championship this coming Friday night. That is an amazing stat. 69 years of action at the Cement Palace and no female champions. And, Jacob, this week we finally get to crown one.
And certainly that's a feat that's going to be celebrated, I think, up in the Northeast for a long time to come. We've seen a lot of prowess from the female drivers this season across all divisions, from the short tracks like at Seekonk to sprint cars, where Morgan Turpin has moved forward this season and claimed a championship in the 360 division earlier this year. It's been a banner year for females across all divisions of motorsports, even going all the way up to Danica Patrick's progress in the Cup Series. So certainly a crowning achievement for her this weekend at Seekonk, and one that I know you'll be keeping an eye on come Friday night as she looks to close the campaign with one more victory.
Well, not only that, Jacob, we got to give a shout-out to other tracks that are going out this weekend. Monadnock's going to wrap up their championship chases. So is the Star Speedway. The Northeast campaign coming down to a close. This is the time of the year that we head towards the DAV at Seacock, the Oktoberfest at Lee, and the World Series at Thompson. That 3-race stretch where you've got to keep your car together in one piece. You want to attend all 3 races because there's some big wins and some big money on the line in the final weeks of the season.
There is, and I know you'll be keeping an eye on it, Kyle, and we'll just have to see how some of this weekend's action shakes out and look forward to having you back on next Thursday's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show.
Well, we'll do that. We'll recap the tour at the Loudon, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We'll see who won these local track championships at Seacock, Waterford, and about. And, Jacob, the second race of the chase also going on this weekend. We don't want to take our eyes too far away from that. We'll see if somebody else can get into the second round, or does the Blue Deuce continue its dominance in the chase.
Brad's been good. It certainly poses some interesting questions, doesn't it? We're going to take a break here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, but we'll be back with more after we finish off this business. You are listening to Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading material supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit StockCarSteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
For every turn, a twist. For every start, an untimely finish. For every win, someone who loses it. For every number, a nation. For every celebration, a brawl. For every split second, years of work. For every heaven, a hell. For every good old boy, a good old girl. For every curse, a prayer. For every ounce of order, a jug of chaos. For every twist, there's a turn.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker leading tonight's roundtable with our cast of characters. And now we continue the late model conversation by sitting down with NASCAR late model stock car driver from Hickory Motor Speedway, who was recently crowned the Hickory Motor Speedway Rookie of the Year for 2014 and picked up his first NASCAR late model victory just a couple weeks ago. William Byron. Will, first off, glad to have you back on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. And for you, it comes really at a time when you've just started to process this season. I know things wrapping up at Hickory, and you guys really had a banner season for coming into it being your first year in late models. You end the year with the Rookie of the Year title and finally getting that first win at Hickory just a couple weeks ago. Talk a little bit about the season from your perspective and whether it met up with your expectations going into the year, because I know as much as you guys wanted to go in and prove this season, it was a learning curve for you too, jumping in the late model for the first time.
Yeah, really getting into the late model was really, I didn't know what to expect when I first started, and it was all new to me. I heard stories about late models, or I watched a lot of late model races, and I didn't know as a 16-year-old kid how hard it would be, or how much work it would be, or what would happen. So my expectations weren't really too high. I mean, I just wanted to go out there and run laps and gain experience and try and win some races. And I never expected us to finish second in the points and win the Rookie of the Year title at Hickory. So I really am just proud of my whole team for that, and proud of what I've become as a late model racer, I guess. So, but going into the season, I just came in with an open slate and just wanted to learn from Josh and be able to run as many laps as I could to get experience.
You certainly did that this year, and you chased Josh for most of the season, finally was able to one-up him just 2 races ago at Hickory, a part of the Twins on the second-to-last weekend of the season. What was the emotion like for you guys finally getting that win after coming so close like you did a couple of different times this year? It seemed like for all the times you had one in your fingertips, it just slipped away right at the very end, but everything finally came together here right at the end.
Yeah, really, it just felt very deserving when we finally got that first win, because we'd had 8 second-place finishes prior to that, and we just weren't quite there. I wasn't there as a driver. I had to learn what else I needed to win a race and win against Josh or Bassett, because mainly they were the two that we had to beat, and they were 2 of the best in the country, and they won 15 out of the 20 races, my dad said. So really that was the goal, was just to figure out what we needed to do to beat those 2, because if we couldn't beat them, we weren't going to win a race. And so we come close so many times, and I just had to really rally the team and figure out what we needed to do to succeed. And when we finally got that first win, I think it was more deserving than it would have been earlier in the season, because of all the hard work that we did to get to that point. So for me, it was just a relief, and got the monkey off our back, and now we can go and try and win some more races. I mean, we ran 3rd this weekend until we got taken out with 25 to go, but we have a lot of big races coming up in the fall, so I'm just looking forward to, now that we have that monkey off our back, to hopefully win some more races and just finish the year solid.
What's the season been like for you? I know it's not over yet, but to be underneath some of the tutelage you've gotten from your teammate Josh Berry, and being in the Junior Motorsports late model program this year, now that you've got just about a full year under your belt, what has that done as far as the learning process for you, and how much have you been able to gain from some of the people that have been around you this season?
Yeah, really, when I came into Junior Motorsports, I wasn't familiar with Josh personally, but I'd seen his track record and everything, and but I just learned so much from Josh and my crew chief Brian Schaefer and L.W. Miller, and and also Kelly when she comes to the races with L.W. So it just really was cool to learn from those guys. I mean, they're some of the best in NASCAR racing, and they really knew how to coach me, and they still do to this day. And there's always things to learn. Late models are really, it's really tough short track racing, because the guys that have been out there have been out there for 4 or 5 years. So it's nothing you can just slouch into and just drive the car. There's a lot more to it than just going out there on a Saturday night and doing your best. You have to surround yourself with good advice, and it really took a lot of hard work from learning from Josh and learning from LW and taking all their advice, and then going out there and doing it. It took a lot to get to this point. So I'm really relieved that we had such a good season. I'm proud of everybody that helped, and I'm just thankful that Liberty University has sponsored us and given us the financial support to do this and to race all year. So it's been really cool that we've been on this journey so far, and I can't wait till next year and these next few races coming up in the fall.
And I know you started to talk about it with Liberty's support this year being a new partner on board for you guys, but I know they aren't the only ones that help make it happen. So I know the season's not quite over, but give some shout-outs real quick. Who's made all this success this season possible for Will Byron and the 9 team?
Well, of course, Liberty University, my parents, Junior Motorsports, everybody at Junior Motorsports, from Steven, who helps on the weekends after school, and everybody that comes out to the racetrack and works on the race car at the shop. I mean, Junior Motorsports has just been phenomenal this year on in the nationwide cars and late models. So it's really cool to carry that banner. I mean, it never gets old, you know, with hanging out with all those guys and being able to go to the nationwide shop and have those guys know who you are and cheer for you. So it's really cool to see that. And obviously I got to thank my parents, because without them, you know, I couldn't get to the weekend and be able to have the support. My dad helping on the marketing side, and also Heather, who helps a lot on our marketing side. So just everybody that helps out. It's really a team effort, and we couldn't do it without every single person working hard every week, because all it takes is one person to not do their job for us to not succeed. So it's really a great group of people that we have. I'm just excited for this fall and just thankful for all I've had so far.
And you said it right there, the season's not over. Real quick, Will, where are we going to see you back on track next now that the Hickory season's wrapped up?
Well, I'm just got out of school this afternoon on Thursday, and I'm going to Motor Mile tomorrow. I'm going to race Motor Mile this weekend with Sellers, because we're getting the car ready at Junior Motorsports for Martinsville. So then we'll have a test on Wednesday at Martinsville. Then we'll race Martinsville in a couple weeks, and then after that, I do some interesting things. I'll be racing a pro late model with Daniel Hemrick for 3 races. The Alabama 200 at Montgomery, the All-American 400 at Nashville, and the Snowflake 100 at Pensacola. So we'll do that, and we'll also have Myrtle Beach with Junior Motorsports. Josh and I are going to go down to Myrtle Beach for the 200 lapper, and also I think a couple more races with Sellers on the off weekends from all the other stuff. So it's going to be a lot of exciting races. It's going to be jam-packed, and I'm just excited to go to a lot of different tracks and learn as much as I can.
And we're excited to see how things keep rolling for you. Appreciate you coming back on, Will, and look forward to seeing you back on track real soon. Best of luck this weekend and for the rest of the season as well.
Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate it.
We're going to take our final caution flag, and when we come back, we will wrap the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show and throw the checkered flag right here on Speed 77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show here on Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, still camped around tonight's round table, but we're just about ready to flag, starting our final laps here. And Tom, before we go off the air tonight, Kyle mentioned it. I want to be able to talk to you about it for a couple of seconds at least. The modified race this weekend at Loudon, 35 lead changes in July. That's a tour record. I'm ready for more of the same. And yet again, I'm asking myself, why is it not televised live?
Yeah, I just don't get that. And it really bothers me that the modifieds, they got dissed at Bristol and they're getting dissed here. I don't understand for the life of me why FS1 doesn't see fit to do this. But you see, this is what happens when Speed Channel, which was an all-racing network, goes to, converts to ESPN wannabe, and this is what we have now. And that's extremely frustrating because this race will be as exciting and competitive, if not more so, than the Cup race the next day. And, the modified tour just kind of gets overlooked. I mean, I know I think it's probably tape delayed, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be tape delayed, I believe Kyle said, for next Saturday. So it'll be on FS1, unfortunately not live.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I wish that I'm hoping that NBC Sports steps up next year and recognizes some of these companion shows as being worthy of live national TV, because it would really mean a lot to the tour to be able to have those two live races. It increases the marketability both for the tour itself and for the individual drivers involved, and it's just great racing. So I really look forward to this, and the modified race is always a special part of that weekend, and lots of action there. It should be just a ton of fun.
Yeah, it should be, and I think we are just about done here for tonight. I can't think of anything really that we've missed, either wrapping up or previewing for this weekend. Just so much racing that we've been able to fit into tonight's hour and a half, Tom. I'm just curious, what are you most excited about this weekend?
Well, the modified race, even though I won't see it, but definitely excited about that, no question about it. And, I'm excited about the Pass South race down here at Hickory, too, even though I'm going to be at Concord Motorsports Park on Saturday night doing some other things, some announcing, and you're going to be out of town doing some of the same things on dirt that I am with announcing. But excited about both of those races, to be honest with you, for different reasons. The modified race, because I just love the modifieds. I grew up watching them, and that race is just spectacular no matter how you look at it. And the Pass South race, because this race at Hickory, anytime the Pass South cars come to Hickory, it's going to be an exciting race. This race is going to be really exciting, and from the looks of things, I mean, there are just going to be a ton of cars there, and from the looks of things, they're going to probably double the Sunoco Southern Super Series car count. Pass South is very strong. Hickory, this race always draws a ton of cars, and again, a lot of things swirling about the future of the Sunoco Super Series. I hope that some of the things I'm hearing are not true, but it's really going to be interesting to see where that goes. But I'm really excited about the Pass Hickory race because it's always one of the most exciting ones on the schedule, and that's a race that again, you probably got easily 15 cars out of that field that could legitimately win that race. So that just makes it really fun, and the weather down here is going to be gorgeous, about 80 degrees and sunny, perfect racing weather for the fall. That's going to be a special race at the Hickory Motor Speedway on Saturday night. If you're anywhere in the vicinity, make sure that you make the trip there and watch the Pass South cars run. Yeah, absolutely right. And as we get set to head off the air tonight, want to say a special thank you to our partners at Stock Car Steel and SRI Supplies for making this show possible. And if you need anything from the scrap metal or shop supply department, you can check out stockcarsteel.com and SRI-supplies.com for all of those needs. And right now, we're telling you to keep it tuned to racechaseronline.com all weekend for the latest from across the worlds of pavement late models, modifieds, the regional touring series, and much, much more. We'll have NASCAR action this weekend, and we'll continue to roll all the way through the Motorsports weekend back to Monday night when we pick it up with Motorsports Madness at 7 p.m. Eastern and talk the chase, talk the short tracks, talk potentially tempers, lead changes, winners, advancement. We've got it all, and we'll probably get a little bit wild and crazy ourselves. So stay tuned. That's Monday night on Motorsports Madness, and we'll be back here 1 week from tonight.
at 7 p.m. Eastern for another round of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show. Until then, race fans, for my co-host Tom Baker, for Kyle Magda, for our guests who we appreciate coming on tonight, J.J. Haley and Tyler Dipple, I'm Jacob Seelman. Race fans, keep it off the wall until we meet again, and we'll catch you on the flip side or see you at the racetrack. Good night, everybody.